Welcome to Block Stars, Ripple's podcast that features leaders and developers in crypto and blockchain to discuss the latest trends, technologies, and the real-world problems being solved. I'm your host, Ripple CTO David Schwartz. Today we're talking about one of the most exciting and rapidly evolving intersections in tech, the convergence of blockchain and artificial intelligence. These two transformative technologies have the potential to drive massive innovation across industries, and today we have an expert in the field to discuss how they're coming together in impactful ways. Joining me is Dimitri Restaino, Senior Solutions Architect at AWS, who's been working on the front lines of integrating AI and blockchain. Dimitri, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Hey, David. Thanks for the intro, and thanks for having me. Really happy to be here. As a solutions architect at AWS or Amazon Web Services, if you're unfamiliar, I get to work with a ton of customers in all different industries, helping them to figure out how to adopt the latest and greatest tech into their applications. And getting the opportunity to work with Ripple over the last few years has been a true highlight, just seeing you all grow so much in the space. So really excited to be here to talk to you about generative AI.
And Amazon AWS has been an amazing partner. So let's get started. Can you help us better understand generative AI a bit more, and what are the key terms we need to know?
Sure. I'm sure a lot of the listeners have already been introduced to some of the more mainstream offerings, such as ChatGPT or Claude. But the technology really goes a bit deeper and broader and has just been so applicable to so many use cases. Yeah, I think it would be helpful to start by outlining some of the key terms. So at the core, we have foundation models, and you can think of these as the brains of the generative AI systems. So these are huge models trained on billions of parameters. So lots of diverse data, including text, images, audio, video. And these provide the broad knowledge base that could then be tailored to specific use cases. So one specific type of foundation model that I want to call out is what we call a large language model, or an LLM. And these are specialized in processing and generating human-like text. And we're seeing these integrated in a ton of applications today. So these systems can be more accurate and customizable beyond the data that they're originally trained on using what's called vector databases. And these are essentially specialized databases for AI retrieval. And these work through a process of what's called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. So when you ask a question, it's going to first search through that knowledge base for any relevant information, and then use that to generate a more accurate response, rather than just using the data that it was originally trained on. And the information stored in these databases needs to be in a certain format. So we use what's called vector embeddings and convert data into a numeric representation of what AI models can easily process. And these models can then do, or the applications can then do some kinds of contextual similarity searches on that data. I think the last thing to grasp is the concept of AI agents. And these are like smart assistants powered by the LLMs. And these agents can independently reason through problems and then take actions to complete tasks autonomously. So just to recap, so foundation models are like the brains, and then vector databases are almost like specific books that they can use to complement their already broad knowledge. You can definitely go a lot deeper in the field than that, but those are really the basic components working together to create some of the powerful AI apps that we're seeing today.
So with retrieval augmented generation, can that include like a database query, like, for example, querying a particular blockchain for recent transaction data, or querying exchanges for price information?
So yeah, it absolutely could. There's really two main architectures that we're seeing across the industry for searching data. So for exact searches, like finding a specific transaction, you might want to use a series of traditional databases and object storage. So for example, like a ledger like the XRPL is a history of what's happened on chain, and that can theoretically grow indefinitely. So in this case, that might be a better fit. And AI can help there by converting natural language questions like show me XRP transactions over $10,000 into precise database queries. So it's like having a data scientist interpret what you say and then write the relevant queries for you.
And then on the other end, process the response so that I don't have to sort through a page of data and try to figure out how to make sense of it.
Absolutely.
Super cool.
Yeah, super, super powerful. And then on the other side, if you do want, more similar answers, and for pattern recognition, we would utilize those vector databases. And those are great for finding similar things rather than exact matches. So, for example, if you wanted to identify fraud by finding transactions that look unusual or follow suspicious patterns, or maybe you want to see any other transactions that look similar to this one for a set time frame, you could do that. And then the real power becomes on top of that if you layer in what I was just mentioning, AI agents, and you can combine these two approaches. So you could have an AI agent handle the user interaction and decide what tool to use. So these agents are also extremely good at handling errors and retry logic. So if a search doesn't come back with data that the model thinks the user is looking for, the agent can recognize that and try a different approach without the user having to manually intervene. So that makes the whole system a lot more user-friendly and accurate.
That's super interesting. Let's talk specifically about how AI and blockchain could complement each other. What are some ways that AI can make blockchain better or blockchain can make AI better?
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at AI and blockchain at first glance, I think initially they can seem kind of opposite, as AI is focused on intelligent decision-making and automation and almost doing things behind the scenes, while blockchain is focused on transparency and making sure that things don't happen behind the scenes, or at least they could be verified. But I think that we're all beginning to see that these technologies can actually really complement each other, as AI needs data to be impactful, and blockchain can provide a trusted and tamper-proof source of that data. So combining them allows you to analyze and act on insights from the data that's sourced from incredibly secure, decentralized infrastructure. And that is just creating new possibilities across all kinds of industries. So that tends to be the conversation on the side of blockchain impacting AI. But on the other hand, you also have AI impacting blockchain. And I think the first and most obvious use case has been around content creation for personalized experiences and NFTs. But we're also seeing a ton of customers leverage generative AI to provide users with stronger functionality, kind of like the example that we just talked through of being able to search blockchain data using LLMs to drive natural language queries.
So I could potentially have an AI and I could say, hey, these 10 Bitcoin accounts are known to belong to exchanges. Show me some other accounts that look like they might be like similar in pattern and might belong to exchanges.
You could do that, and it would utilize all of the different underlying data that it's been trained on and what it's seen, and any kind of data that you have provided it that could complement that query. And it also has the broad knowledge that it was trained on. So if there's any kind of terminology in there that maybe you didn't strictly define, it might be able to define that itself too. So for example, like I was just playing around and I was saying, show me whale movements in the last week. And it can interpret what that means and build out the relevant SQL query to run that.
And process the results, issue follow-up queries, handle errors from how a simple query, show me whale movements in the past 24 hours could underneath the hood involve multiple data stores, multiple queries, error handling, pattern detection. I mean, it's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, it's incredibly powerful. We're really seeing it hit all kinds of industries in ways that we expected and then ways that we didn't really expect.
Yeah, just the query angle is just amazing to me, only because I've gone through the tedium of having to compose exactly the right queries, get the wrong answers, had to adjust the query, finally get the right data. I'm like, great, now I have all the information I need, and the answer I need is somewhere in there. And then I have the tedious process of trying to extract and process. The idea of automating all that with natural language input so that it's accessible to anyone on massive databases, including blockchain. Blockchains are massive databases. That's super exciting. So there was a report from Bitwise that said that the fusion of blockchain and AI could add $20 trillion to global GDP by 2030. Are there really, massive applications going on? Is that Is that even, or does that seem plausible to you? That's 20 trillion is a huge number.
Yeah, I agree. 20 trillion is a huge number, but we're seeing all kinds of wild predictions being thrown around right now.
You don't have to agree with that particular prediction.
Yeah, I'm just.
It is. I know the number is so big that it has tremendous shock value. I mean, I think we would all both agree that there's real value being created. I don't know that I can promise 20 trillion in 6 years, 5 years.
Absolutely. That's basically like having another massive country on the planet. But I think at such an exciting transformational moment, it's hard not to get carried away with how far things could go. We're already seeing huge investments in the space. I think I read around 750 million was invested in AI-linked crypto projects just in the first half of this year alone. And I think that's really a testament to the synergistic effect of these technologies. AI trains on and analyzes massive amounts of data, and blockchain can provide the trusted source of that data. Another reason why I think this is so amazing right now is how accessible and easy to use the generative AI tooling is. So at AWS, we have Amazon Bedrock, which is our fully managed generative AI service that offers a choice of high-performing foundation models from leading AI companies like Anthropic, AI21 Labs, Cohere, Meta. Amazon has our own Nova models. You could import your own custom models, and then you invoke the models through a single API request and simply just change out a parameter in the request to call the different models. So it's all super easy to use. And
so you don't need $100 million to get started.
No, you don't. You definitely don't. I play around with Bedrock in a lot of my projects, and it is incredibly powerful, and it's pretty cost effective. The queries really run you a few cents, if that. And through Bedrock, you also have access to a broad set of capabilities around security and privacy as well. So yeah, this allows developers of any size to get their hands on the same powerful LLM technology that these huge enterprises are using and really be only charged for what you use. So it can scale as you scale. And I think that's why we're seeing so much adoption. It's just incredibly easy to get started, and it doesn't cost too much to play around. So I really recommend all developers go check it out.
I had an experience recently with someone who uses LLM tools like in their normal system management job, which is not something I would ever think of doing. And there was a machine that was just passing more traffic than normal. And so we grabbed a snapshot of like traffic activity, and I was looking at it trying to find anything that's dead. I said, no. He said, no, don't do that. And he just piped it to an LLM and said, does this network traffic output show anything suspicious?
Yeah.
And the LLM gave the answer immediately, in a second or two. And if you don't even have to understand the output of the tool, because it's complicated to understand the output of the tool, but the LLM did. It's quite amazing. So that's kind of what AI can do for blockchain. Let's talk about challenges in the AI space that blockchain might be able to help with. So some of them are around data authenticity, data privacy. The other thing that's interesting to me is if we get to a world where we have AI agents that need to pay each other, because like an AI can't open a bank account. Is that too futuristic, or what do you think?
Well, I think through processes like smart automation, really, I think that could be something in the future. Using AI to run the logic of what makes sense and then using smart contracts to actually execute. I think that is a possibility in the future.
I think these things are a little bit further off. It's harder to see a straight line. Tell our audience if they're not familiar about zero-knowledge machine learning.
Sure. So AI needs high-quality, trustworthy data to function effectively. And, I think blockchain could play a critical role in that in the future. And we're really seeing some promising developments like that concept of zero-knowledge machine learning, or ZKML, which builds on zero-knowledge proofs, which, as you know, is a popular concept in the blockchain space. In theory, this technology could allow us to verify that a model ran correctly without revealing any of the underlying data. So this could potentially be a game changer for areas like finance, where you would want to ensure that the same model is being used for everyone, for fairness in decision-making, for examples like granting loans or approving grants. And if that's implemented successfully, I think the transparency could both help limit bias and enhance trust in these AI-driven decisions that are more and more so becoming the norm. So as AI becomes more involved in these decisions, we need to be sure that they're making the right choices for everyone.
It sounds like finance and healthcare areas where trust is paramount, and people are rightfully concerned about AI being used in the decision-making process. Being able to know that the AI was used correctly, that the correct data was fed into it, seems like that could make that a much more reliable system. Anything on combating misinformation or protecting intellectual property? Can we use AI to do those kinds of things?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of really interesting synergies there. So one synergy I'll talk about is in the decentralized identity and reputation space. So as we spoke about, AI can analyze behavioral patterns across blockchain transactions, and it can use that to build more nuanced trust scores. So while the AI is using the data, the blockchain underneath is ensuring that the reputation metrics can't be manipulated. So a DeFi platform could use AI to assess creditworthiness based on on-chain activity, and blockchain is going to keep that transparent and fair. At the last Apex conference, I actually spoke on a panel with on-chain AI, and I think that they had a similar pattern there in the compliance space. Pretty awesome technology. Another really cool synergy is with content authentication. So as AI-generated content becomes more prevalent, blockchain can provide a verifiable record of content origin and ownership. So whether a human or AI create the digital content, blockchain can generate that unique fingerprint that makes it possible to track the authenticity and evolution as it goes across the internet. So I think this is going to be super valuable for combating misinformation, like you said, and protecting IP in an increasingly AI-generated world.
So is there anything you can tell us about how people are actually using AWS today at the intersection of AI and blockchain? Tools like Amazon Q Developer or people who are developing smart contracts? Anything you can tell us about what's actually happening?
Yeah, absolutely. So at AWS, we're exploring several ways that we can make blockchain development more accessible and secure through AI integration. So one of our key focus areas has been AI-assisted development tools. So Q Developer is a great example of that. That's our AI software development assistant. And that's going to potentially transform how developers build all applications and Web3 applications. It integrates directly into the development environment like Visual Studio Code and helps developers build more efficient applications while reducing common coding errors by analyzing patterns in real time and flagging potential security vulnerabilities before deployment, which is really great because we know in the Web3 space, even minor flaws can have significant consequences. We're also seeing some interesting possibilities in smart contract development and auditing, where AI systems can potentially analyze vast repositories of existing smart contracts to identify successful patterns or common vulnerabilities. And the AI might be able to, help detect some subtle issues that human auditors might miss. And again, security review for smart contracts is crucial because of the immutability. But it's important to note at this point in time, these practices should definitely complement rather than replace traditional security measures. We're still in the early days, but we're seeing promising indicators that combination of AI and blockchain and these AI tools are going to help make more secure, efficient, accessible Web3 applications.
It's a vulnerability check is one of the areas where the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't find anything and waste some of your time. It's like the risk is very, very small. You're just risking time. And of course, if it does find a vulnerability, the benefit there is prior to deployment. I don't know which is worse, finding it prior to deployment or finding it after deployment. But obviously, the benefit is enormous. Are there any specific industries or sectors where you think these types of advancements will have the most impact?
Yeah, I'd say, the usual suspects are healthcare and supply chain management. They're definitely seeing some major impacts, but there are some other cool sectors to call out that you might not think of. So, for example, the energy sector has been looking into how to use AI and blockchain to revolutionize how we manage smart power grids. So AI can predict the energy demand patterns and optimize the distribution in real time. And then blockchain can keep track of the energy production, consumption, and carbon credits. Another cool industry is the entertainment industry, where we're seeing these technologies completely change how content creators can build and monetize their work. So they can now use AI to analyze their consumer preferences and kind of get a more accurate profile by analyzing on-chain activity, and then use that activity to generate new personalized content using those preferences. And then they have access to all the traditional blockchain revenue streams for the created assets via NFTs, royalty payments, or token-based communities, all the traditional ways that you would monetize. So this allows creators to better serve their audience while maintaining control over their IP.
So healthcare is an industry where trust and privacy are extremely important. How can AI and blockchain help in that space?
Yeah, definitely. In healthcare, we're seeing a ton of cool projects. AI can help with everything from diagnostics to personalized treatment plans, while blockchain ensures that the patient data is secure and only accessible to authorized parties. So it's like having the best doctors in the world analyzing your symptoms and suggesting treatments faster than ever with an unbreakable safe for your medical records. And then you control the keys, or who has the keys at any point in time. So we're seeing some early use cases of where AI helps to manage medical supply chains and optimize the distribution of critical resources throughout hospitals too. And I really think that's just the start in this field. I think there's going to be a ton to come.
So let's talk just a tiny bit about the potential dark side. What should, when AI and blockchain come together, like, are there things that people should specifically be worried about? Specifically in the blockchain, because AI generally, we're worried about decisions being made that embed unconscious bias, or that or AI taking over the world. Are there specific fears that you have about AI and blockchain, or is it all good?
It's a lot of good, but of course we're still in the early days, and there is a lot of hesitancy. Hallucinations are also still an issue. As good as these models are getting, at this point, it's hard to put life and death in the model's hands.
You want humans in the loop, right?
So,
at least the cautious approach is to have humans in the loop certainly before irreversible, or movements of large amounts of money that you can't call back is a little Well, you have an AI in the decision to make a payment. That's a little scary.
Right. So, it's really going to depend on the use case. There are definitely some use cases where you can point the AI at it and let it rip, but there's also a lot to be hesitant about. There are also a lot of different tools that are coming out to help combat some of that stuff, like hallucination and bias and things like that. So, for example, we have a service, Amazon Bedrock Guardrails, which can help provide configurable safeguards to help you build these generative AI applications at scale. So they're able to block, I think it's up to 85% more undesirable and harmful content, and filter over 75% of hallucinations. And how this is done is it's using a model to check the output of the models. So that's kind of how it works behind the scenes. And I think that these concepts are really coming each and every day. So as we talk now, there's some hesitancy in the air, not as much as it was when we first started. But at some point, maybe we'll be having this conversation and we'll be having it on the other side. We'll be saying, well, there's some hesitancy around having humans implement anything, just have AI do it. So, who knows where it's going to go.
I'm pretty sure we'll get to that point around driving cars within the next 20 years or so.
Yeah.
The question won't be whether it's safe to let machines do it. The question will be whether humans
Exactly.
So I always do this to my guests. I always make them pull out their crystal ball. I usually pick a time frame of 1 or 2 years, but so I'll ask you, pull out your crystal ball and tell us, like, where do you think AI and blockchain, their intersection is going to be in a year or two?
Yeah, so I'm really excited about where this is headed. I think a big trend that's going to continue will be this smart automation, where AI systems not only analyze blockchain data, but actually make and execute decisions based on that data through AI agents and smart contracts. So I live in Brooklyn, New York right now, but I'm starting to look at some houses upstate. And it's a very exciting time, but anybody that's been through the process of purchasing a home knows that it can be pretty daunting with all the associated closing procedures and paperwork that needs to be done. So, maybe in the future, AI is able to handle all the paperwork and verification, and blockchain can maintain a secure record of ownership. And, maybe the whole process takes a couple of minutes instead of, weeks and months. So, ideally they can figure that out in the next few months, and I'll be all set. But, I think we're really at the beginning of something transformational that is going to impact everyday people. And we're moving towards a future where AI and blockchain together can create more effective, transparent, and intelligent systems than either technology could achieve on its own. So super exciting time, and can't wait to see where it goes.
I'll tell you what I would like to see most, like in as soon as possible. If I withdraw funds, move cryptocurrency like from an exchange account or a wallet, I would love for that exchange to do AI analysis on the recipient address or account and say, hey, this looks like patterns of fraud that we've seen. Because it seems like they're very, very reactive and not proactive. And as you probably know, people being scammed out of their cryptocurrency is just one of the, it always feels like a gut punch in this space. And it seems like AI could really help with that.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I know you've mentioned before that, if you put up a post, there's always going to be people in the comments saying, oh, we need, or like giveaways, 100 XRP if you, send to this address. And then in the future, that could all be short-circuited right in the address bar. So super powerful.
I'd love to see
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dimitri, for sharing your insights today. This was an amazing conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much, David. It's been so great to be here. I love talking about this stuff. Really, really excited for where it could take us, and really looking forward to see what the XRPL community builds next.
Thanks. To our listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Blockstars. It's clear that AI and blockchain are not only complementary technologies, but are converging in ways that will drive innovation across industries. Stay connected with us for more exciting conversations, and until next time, keep exploring the frontier of blockchain technology. Dimitri, AWS, thank you so much for making this possible. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on X, formerly Twitter, at Joel Katz, JoelKatz. And remember to follow at RippleXDev on X, formerly Twitter, to keep up with the latest industry news, technical updates, and cool new developer projects from the community. See you around the blockchain.